Please say hello.
Hello, hello, hello. Assalamu alaikum. Jianu, Pakhair Ragale, Ni Hao, Chune Shumme, Washmale, Ohio, Gonzaimus, Guten Morgen. Privet and hi, hugs and hellos to everybody who's tuned into PTV World right now and are watching World this morning alongside Shahzad Khan and Maha Maktoum. Hello, Maha. Good morning. How are you?
Hello, Shahzad. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm very good today. Actually, I've got a lot of energy today. I finally got some proper rest and my jet lag is getting better.
Well, that's great, but your earrings do look great. I
Oh,
think
thanks. Yeah,
they
they're
look
new.
fabulous.
Thank you.
Because earlier I was thinking, okay, I need to say earrings or earlings.
Earrings.
No, but I think these are earrings because they
What?
fall straight.
Oh,
They're
okay.
not rings.
Okay.
So that's what it is. We hope that everybody's ready to kickstart their day as well. Time to rise and shine,
Yes.
wake and bake, get up and be focused on what you need to do.
Absolutely.
Quite a lot of good news is over here in my hand right now. I think I'm going to read them out to you.
So give us an update on what's important.
Yeah, okay. So the updates are right here. Pakistan and Palestine agree to continue joint efforts with the international community for peace in Palestine. Agreement reached during delegation level talks.
Wonderful.
How amazing that is. And then these images which you are watching, they're from the newly constructed building of Palestinian embassy in Islamabad,
Yes.
inaugurated by Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas hoists Palestinian flag at the building.
That's wonderful.
That is great, though.
Great. So that was happening in Pakistan yesterday?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what's happening. And then there's one more,
Yes.
and it's about our armed forces as well. I think we need to be inclusive about that. So
Okay.
I'll probably move on to that. And last one, though.
Yeah.
Pakistan Army reiterates to continue war against terrorism with full vigor. DGISPR says we do not want war with any country, but our armed forces are fully capable to thwart any aggression.
Wonderful.
Quite a statement.
Yeah, absolutely, and one that's much needed in these very testing and confusing times, because the world seems to be, going through an interesting period in politics.
I think
but
that's
anyway,
what it is globally as well.
Yeah,
But let's
exactly.
talk about the public service message which we
Yes,
have.
and
I think, Ma, you're going to go forward with that.
I am. Today, because we haven't done this for a while, me and Shahzad were discussing this. We're talking about hygiene. So it's not about just rinsing your hands. It's not about just kind of, making yourself just spark. You also have to cleanse yourself with disinfectant and soap as well. Because if you have all this bacteria, you're going to be spreading it. That's how germs are spread. That's how diseases are spread. And that's how all these viruses get around.
Exactly, that's what it is. And half of the time, I've seen people, for example, when you go to restaurants and you go use their public toilets as well. I mean, you need to be careful over there as well, whether the place is clean or not. But whenever the people they come out of the washroom,
Yeah.
what they do is that they won't even probably use the soap properly. What they'll do is that they'll just touch the soap. Oh, okay, done. Okay, you guys are going to be in danger just because of that, because you do not know where the germs are coming from. So please make sure that you keep your hands clean while eating as well. That's one aspect. But generally in life, please make sure that you wear nice and, wash clothes, you put perfume on, you put your creams and whatever.
Exactly.
And make your places look cleaner and neater as well.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Yeah, let's make ourselves, looking good these days. But Shahzad, what are we going to be discussing today? Because we have a very interesting topic.
Yeah.
It's something that is going into everyone's life on a regular basis, daily.
Okay, so Maha, I think thank you very much for pointing this out.
Yes.
Just because of the fact that you said daily. Now in Pakistan and globally, since we're not just sticking to Pakistan because it's PTV World, we go out in 46 different countries, so we are going to take this topic globally.
Yes.
So what happens is that quite a lot of people,
Yeah.
they spend at least 5 to 6 hours watching television in their daily routines.
And that's a lot.
Yeah, that's quite a lot though. And what happens is that, there are people who read novels, there are people who read books, and then whatever they read or whatever they see or watch on televisions or within their books or in films, it does have an impact on
Absolutely.
them. Now,
Yeah.
back in 1950s or 1960s, people were having a debate about fiction, whether fiction is good for us, whether fiction is good for societies or individuals or not. But then eventually, when in 1965 or 1960, Plato, who's one of a very famous novelist and a writer as well, what he did was, since the debate was building up so much more, he stopped writing fiction.
Right.
And then the FCC chairman came up and he said that, you're not working in the public interest. And now psychologists have discovered that fiction plays a very positive role on the societies and on the individuals too.
Exactly. And, you know, as in Plato's work was being used because he was in the ancient Greek times,
Yes.
so he was dead by the 1960s.
Yeah.
But it's very important because, like, as Shahzad mentioned, that fiction is used to kind of shape ideas as well. It's kind of taking away from reality. But these days, you know, like you said, the discussion's been going on since the 50s, the 60s, but now there's kind of a twisted reality that's coming out on television.
Yeah.
We see abroad, like we used to have like Eric Wala Jinn, we used to have proper stories away from reality. Now you take reality and you twist it and you make it weird, like all these dramas.
Yeah.
It's based on reality, but it's not real life, so it still falls into fiction, and
Yeah,
that's also having an impact on us.
I
as
mean,
well.
over here in Pakistan, the only fiction, okay, I do not even consider it fiction, but the
Yeah.
only problem over here in Pakistan is that the lifestyle they show within the dramas,
Yeah.
it's hardly to be seen anywhere within the society. And even for the people who were producing those dramas,
Yeah.
when they go back home, they are even jinxed that, you know, okay, the place where we're coming from, it's obviously going to have an impact. So we're trying to make it look more glamorous. I think we're working in that direction.
Okay.
But fiction in these days is hard to be seen
Yeah.
within our dramas and films as well. But then by the end of the day, I think it is having an impact. And globally,
Absolutely.
what they do is, I love fiction. And
Yeah.
I love fiction because of the fact that, you know, that sense of creativity, that
Yes.
aesthetic sense. And we will be sharing a trailer too from one of the very amazing movies which I love the most as well. I mean, just look at that. You know, you've got so much to expand on. You know, your horizons are being expanded, and then eventually when you're in the cinema, that 70 screen, it does have an impact.
Exactly, but you know, if you look at it, Shahzad, though, even within like the trailer we're going to share with you in a moment to tell you what kind of conversation we're going to be having, even within that there were messages, though. There's messages of humanity, there was messages for the society, there's messages for the world. So, you know, fiction can be used in a very positive way, but, you know, I feel like globally, even, you know, I mean, in England, I was there were so many different shows on, and it was, you could see the distinction between, okay, this is just a drama and whatnot, but in Pakistan, it gets a bit complicated.
Okay, I'm very sorry for that, but I will have to, you know, talk about this.
Yeah, go
for
for it.
example, there's a very good series over there in England. Sorry for mentioning that, but since we're
It's
a global
okay.
channel, yeah. And the name was Modern Family.
Okay, yes.
So Modern Family. Now, you know, for all those people who might be thinking, how can fiction have an impact? Now, for them, you know, what happens is that, you know, if you are, you know, positive towards probably a gay person, or, you know, if you're positive towards homosexuality, you know, what happens is that the society starts accepting it too.
Right.
And this is what has happened over there, that, you know, when you know, gays and homosexuality became an issue, what they did was they made films about it. They made series about it. And were being positive about it too.
Okay.
And that's how the society accepted it.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So it can be used in a very positive way. So let's go and take a look at our trailer. And when you come back, we're going to introduce you our guests, who are wonderful guests, to discuss this very interesting topic. Stay tuned. So, yep, Shahzad.
So yeah, that's what we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, whether fiction can have an impact on societies and individuals or not.
Exactly.
And for that, you know, we do have our very apt guest over here in the studio. So Maha, without any further ado.
Yes, so let's introduce you Mr. Hamza Hassan Sheikh. He is a novelist and a poet. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Besides Hamza Hassan Sheikh, we've been joined by Colonel Naeem Ashraf, who is a writer. Assalamu alaikum, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
So gentlemen, you've heard my question, whether fiction can shape up societies or individuals or not, or whether it can have a negative impact or not, or whether it varies from individual to individual.
It depends upon from society to society and individual to individual. Okay. As we think that in our society, mostly any fictional character is taken as negative. Like the concept of journey or concept of ghost, that is too much in our society, especially in our village areas. Okay, as we belong to different areas, so in most of our villages there is too much concept of ghosts or too much concept of journeys, and that are related with human beings.
Okay.
And it is a kind of negative impact. Means there is concepts, but you cannot relate any journey or any ghost with any human being.
Okay.
But we are taking it negative. And secondly, what we are doing that, so we make it so much idealist, or we create so much idealism in our people around us, or sometimes the people are too much afraid of that particular person.
Okay.
Okay, and he is totally isolated from the whole society.
Okay, so you're saying basically these real concepts are used
in
to kind
our
of
society.
alienate,
In our society.
Okay.
When we talk about globally, means there are different fictional characters,
Okay.
but they are taken as ideals.
Okay.
The people want to be like them.
No,
Okay.
I don't agree with that.
Okay, I think I know. I see what your point, and I think that's
Like
also,
Superman or these are, but they
Have
are
you
like.
seen their horror films? People are dying in cinemas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. But
Yeah.
Okay.
but
so,
few characters, they are too much idolized by them.
Okay,
okay.
yes.
Okay. So we'll discuss that further. Okay. So, Colonel Naeem, what do you think about Shahzad's question? How much impact does fiction actually have on society?
Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak on this again.
Pleasure.
Fiction is essentially a manifestation of a reality somewhere
Exactly.
by portraying into imaginary characters.
Okay.
And in my view, in all manners, it has positive effects
Okay.
on all segments of society because it gives fruit for thought.
Okay.
Like, as he mentioned, the series like Harry Potter's did become controversial somewhere by religious segments who oppose the witchcraft.
Okay.
But the trailer you just showed gives a very much positive incentive for the people for mutual peaceful coexistence.
Okay.
And also, if you talk of science fiction, flying in the air was a fiction. It was a dream. And when Wright brothers said we want to fly like birds, then people were laughing at them.
Okay.
But it turned into reality.
It's a very nice point, actually. Okay.
And they're flying in flocks now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boeings.
Okay, so
And
now, okay, so that's the, it's been used to kind of take the society forward. It's helped an evolution of, of technology, etc. But within Pakistan, let's bring it back home. So within Pakistan, how can it be used? Because as Hamza just mentioned, that over here, we have certain concepts within our religion, within our traditions as well. And then people use dramas or films to kind of reinforce the negativity of it, maybe used to scare people. Does it have an impact because of the literacy rates here, the impact of fiction?
In my opinion, in last 70 years of Pakistan, we have transcended from general behavior of people, from tolerance to intolerance. We were more liberal, we were more accommodating, let's say in 50s, 60s.
Okay.
But in 70s onwards, you see that we are going down as far as tolerance is concerned.
Right.
As far as we have zero tolerance for others' belief system, I am sorry to say.
Yeah.
And we are more intolerant.
Okay.
So if fiction opens your mind,
Okay.
it urges you to accept others' belief system, others, let him live, and do not intervene in his personal belief system. So I think one role it can play is that it broadens your vision, it gives you food for thought,
Yeah.
and it allows you to handle a situation from a different angle.
Okay.
It gives you angle. It
gives
gives
you a
you different worldview.
Absolutely.
You may forget different dogmas and taboos after having read some piece of fiction. You may be a changed man.
Yeah.
No, that is correct indeed. But then, okay, let us be a bit more precise and, coming down to a very microscope. What I'm going to say over here is, for example, you very correctly mentioned that back in 1950s and 60s and 70s, even in 80s, I think we were tolerant enough as well. And then the television came in, PTV came in. When PTV was launched, since now, from then till now, there are people, in fact, the majority says that they have kept their culture alive, they've kept their values intact. Now, what happened with the advent of all of these private channels? Now, for example, Udari, it's one of the drama serials where they've shown that, that the guy beats women as well, which is a dogma, which is a taboo. Then, there are these other dramas, for example, Naman Ajaz Saab's drama where his sons are being killed. And, all of these things, they started to come in. Now, what happens is that society subconsciously does get an impact from television, because over here within Pakistan, we as a nation and as a society, we are not readers, we are not writers in majority. Okay? So, don't you think that, people, if they would work on fiction in today's time, I think we will get better and better, because, obviously, very correctly, it gives us another dimension.
Yep. It will surely. Would you like to?
No, we'll move on to Hamza after you,
Okay,
sir.
okay. My point is that whether it is a drama or film or television, it's based on some story.
Yeah,
And story is nothing but fiction.
exactly.
Okay.
And it gets its input, substance matter, from the actual culture.
Okay.
Whatever is the society, it will be reflected into fiction, and then stories will be made. But unfortunately, there are so many channels, and it has been commercialized that there's too much of quantity. So when there's too much of quantity, there's less of quality. We will come up towards the dramas, and you will see what happened with us. But overall, fiction will only be televised or picturized when it is being read.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your readership in Pakistan is 5 to 10%. So when you don't value a thing, if you didn't value Shakespeare, didn't value Macbeth or the Hamlet or the Devil's Disciple, then nobody would have known Shakespeare and Bernard Shaw.
Yeah, exactly.
So now you know they worship their heroes and writers and fiction people, and they patronize it, and then it culminates into the films and dramas and societies, and it does have the effect. Unfortunately, nowadays on television you see mostly dramas which have attraction for domestic women.
Yeah.
And conspiracies within the
Oh,
family.
yeah, so I actually watched some. So I went back home. I was there for 2 weeks. And my mother watches these dramas.
Yeah.
And by like 11 a.m., and I was like, why are you watching this? Someone's always crying, or someone's always fighting, or someone's not talking to each other. I was like, why does this have any desired effect? I had to walk out.
But I can answer that. Okay,
oh my gosh.
Let me answer that. Okay. Because, okay, after my work, whenever I go back home, you know, it's the evening prime time, I think. That's when most of the dramas are there. Or otherwise, you know, if I would go back home at, you know, at noon, what will happen is that the repeat telecasts are on.
Gosh.
And the only person who's sitting right in front of the television is my mother. That's it. Nobody else is interested. Okay, so they'll keep on watching the drama, and just because, you know, you're an elder son, you want to sit with your mom, have a bit of conversation. So most of the time, okay, even if we are having a conversation about my family or, for example, our father, my father, and her husband, you know, majority of the times what happens is that whatever is going into the drama serial, for example, if it's a man cheating, if it's a woman doing something to her husband, I don't know why, but subconsciously the conversation turns that, you know, probably my father's into something of that sort.
Yeah.
This is what is happening.
Okay.
And you know, I think people have started saying it. I'll quote it in Urdu कि ये दिन में ड्रामे देखती हैं और रात में ड्रामे करती हैं.
Oh, wow. Okay, now this is you. Now I feel that
I'm
women.
sorry for that.
Yeah, you should be. But it's not. Okay, so the thing is, like Sir mentioned, it's based from reality, right? So the stories, it comes from that. But
I
do
don't know
agree.
what goes on with the writers.
I agree, yeah, because a lot of the time these are male writers. These are male writers a lot of the time as well. Now let's bring Hamza into the conversation.
Writers?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Look who writes the script. Next time you see, look who's writing the script. So
I
anyway,
think Seema Ghazal is one of the very
one
famous.
of them. One of them. But okay, so Hamza, tell us. I refuse to let women take the blame. So how is this having an impact? Because we've seen, you know, when you read good fiction novels, when you read the classics, and Pakistan does have its own classics, why are we not focusing on that?
The problem is the same which Sir has discussed, that we are having very few readers.
Okay.
Our readership is very less.
Okay.
So it depends upon that what kind of literature you are going to provide to them. The problem is that we are having very good fiction in our society as well. Like now if we talk about modern novelists, there are very good novelists like Muhammad Hanif
Yes.
and Mohsen Hamid.
Yes.
They are very good fiction writers.
Okay.
But the problem is the same of readership, that they are very good having lot of readership in foreign, but they are not as much capacity here in Pakistan.
So actually, I think what we should do now is we should share some...
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you
but
stop,
before that,
stop.
we do have one thing more to share. And
Oh,
that
gosh.
is, that over time things have changed. For example, that when we were kids, because the readership does not come like you turn on a book and you turn off a book. It's not like that. Your
have to
parents
read.
need to sit down with you.
Yeah.
Your grandparents need to sit down with you. They
That
have
is
to-
the for
yeah,
whole
they have
society.
to make an effort. They have to bring in those books and magazines. Let me go back in time. I don't know. I think half of the Pakistanis are going to remember that from my segment. Talim o Tarbiyat.
Yes, I
Now
have.
there used to be fiction in it, there used to be drama in it, and there used to be quite a lot of good messages in it too.
I took a start from that. My first story published in that.
Excellent.
See, that's what it is. My grandfather never forgot to bring in that magazine for all of us, and different copies for each one of us. And then we used to love that magazine. We used to read it. Oh, Talim o Tarbiyat here, man. Let's do it. But that's what Maha said. We have forgotten our classics. And I think this is about time that we remind our Pakistanis that what type of classics PTV was into, and they are into it still. But what the private channels need to do is they probably need to come up with productions which are more helpful in
And
daily
healthy.
lives. Yeah, and healthy and happy. Every time there's something, oh, they're crying. The lady's crying, or the lady's dead, or they're
Oh no! And I watched
love's
another
fallen
morning
apart.
show where they were doing marriage counseling, and it was, and I was like, "What is going on?" So
Yeah.
fiction is kind of going over into reality, and it's kind of having a negative impact. But let's go and take a look at the classics and what Pakistan was all about, right?
But before, because you mentioned marriage counseling,
Oh gosh.
imagine what type of marriage counseling it is, where you have paid actors, and then those paid actors have to say on air that, okay, I'm going to divorce her, I'm going to marry her.
Oh,
This
gosh.
is not a morning show concept, people, please get a life. And this is what we are talking about. This is what you call classics.
उसे काबू करना होगा। जिन को कैसे काबू करेंगे बॉस? ठहरो। तुम भी कोई जिन हो?
ये बिल पतोड़ी लाला चोरी मैं तेरा बड़ा मशहूर
मेरा
हूँ।
नाम
तूने
काली
मेरा बड़ा ही
है।
साथ दिया है।
मैं
इसलिए
इमरान
कहता
को
था कि
पकड़ने
चुड़ैल
में
नहीं, तू डैन है।
तुम्हारी
मेरी
मदद
प्यारी बहन है।
करूंगी।
शोधिया,
मगर तुम हो कौन?
शादिया, फालिया।
तुम्हें मेरी बात पर
गुलाम की खबर तो
यकीन नहीं आएगा।
अबे और
इसलिए
नस्तूर के बच्चे
तुम सिर्फ
तूने
इतना
अभी तक
समझ
इतना सा
लो
पैसा निकाला है
कि मैं भी
मैंने तुझे कहा
इमरान
था कि
की
2 घंटे में
दुश्मन
मुझे
हूँ।
2 बोरियां
जैसे तुम इमरान के दुश्मन हो। मैं
चाहूं
उसे
तो
पकड़ने
अपने
में
मंत्र से
तुम्हारी
तमाम
मदद
चलों का बेसर बना
करूंगी।
सकता हूं मगर तू मेरा
मगर-
गुलाम है
इमरान के पास तो जिन है।
मैं जिनका
यहाँ हरामी नहीं
मुकाबला
चलेगी।
कर सकती हूँ।
रात बिल पतोड़ी नफरत तोड़ी ने इस बेसन के पकोड़े तले हैं और तू जानता है कि मुझे पकोड़े बड़े पसंद हैं
जाओ।
फौरी तौर पर मुझे
और
2
इमरान को
बोरियां
पकड़कर
बेसन की
हमारे
चाहिए नालायक,
उसने हमारे
अधरा,
कुछ
समझ
लड़के
ले,
पकड़वा दिए।
तू मेरा गुलाम
हम
है
उससे बदला लेना चाहते हैं।
तुम लोग
चल बिल
इसी
पतोड़ी
जगह रहना।
चलकर मसाला तैयार
मैं
कर
इमरान
हल्दी
को
मिर्च
पकड़ने
मसाला डाल
जाती हूँ।
Some sound in background.
All right, people, so this is one of the classics, but right now, ladies and gentlemen, we need to go for a short break. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, first of all, we do have, Transformers trailer, which is, and that movie is to be released in 2017. And then further on, we'll talk about different ages. For example, how fiction plays, have an effect or has an effect on kids, and then on adults, and then on people who are more than adults too. Let's take a short break.
Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we're talking about the impact fiction has on society and using film and drama as a medium. Before the break, we're talking about the impact of dramas and fiction dramas and all that on adults and, life and, partnerships and relationships. But now, as Shazad mentioned, we're going to talk about the impact of fiction on children and how we can bring them back into the culture of reading and how we can encourage that. So I will start with Hamza and then I'll move on to Colonel Naeem. So how important is it to bring up this culture of reading with kids?
Means you have to give the books to your child from his early childhood.
Okay.
Means when I was a student of primary school, I happened to read fiction stories like Tarzan, Umru Ayar, all these. And I talking about myself, that I was having pocket money of 1 rupee daily.
Okay.
And at that time, a story was coming 50 paisas or 25 paisa.
Okay.
So I happened to buy one story, and others I just expense on myself.
You don't really look that old though.
Is that old?
Because when I used to go to primary school, I think even samosa wasn't a 50 paisa.
Oh, yeah, but I am.
Okay.
And and those bundles of stories are still with me.
Wow.
So I am having those as my memory, though I happen to read those. So because I was having a kind of people around me that were reading the books all the times. So my parents were reading all the time, my sisters, everyone was reading.
But the thing is, okay, no, that's fine, but that's the thing, your parents could read. So there's a lot of people whose parents cannot read, they cannot even write their names. So Colonel Naeem, how do we encourage this culture? And then let's talk about the impact on these dramas and films.
So, put in simple words, parents have to read themselves.
Okay.
And they can only encourage, because, children, they observe more than listening.
Yeah.
And you cannot impose reading on them. Then again, you have to find which kind of things. Now, one of my friend, Colonel Akil, he told me that I have been giving different novels to my son. He did not read, but since he has a passion for cricket, so when I gave him biography of Sunil Gavaskar, he read in one day.
Okay.
So interest, you have to see your child's interest,
Okay.
and of his interest, you pick up the fiction and read first, make him sit with you, find some time for him, spend some time with him. And then when he builds up the habit, you cannot impose on him. You have to see his interest, discuss with him.
Yeah.
So this is how it can be done. And the
Okay.
second part is of teachers. Third is of libraries and society.
Absolutely.
I think
There is no other way.
Okay.
if only they make it mandatory that you do not have to read your textbooks, I think everybody would be interested in reading.
Absolutely. Okay, so now in regards to the impact of films and drama, because I know you want to be more specific about it, so tell us what's happening with that.
Sure. Okay. As far as again, as I mentioned before, that whether it is drama or film, there is a story behind.
Right.
And story is written by a story writer, and it is essential part of fiction.
Right.
When we talk in context of subcontinent, I can give you 3 classic examples of fiction being picturized.
Okay.
As I remember, Pinjar, a movie made on Amrita Pritam's novel, Pinjar, which was written in 1950.
Okay.
Although movie was produced in 1996.
Right.
Train to Pakistan. And it's a famous novel by Khushwant Singh. It has been filmized, picturized. And again the novel was written in 1956, though movie came in 2003. Before that, Umrao Janada.
Yeah.
It's story of a courtesan girl of in the court of Nawab of Lucknow. 2 movies have been made. 1998, Umrao Janada, and then 2006, Umrao Janada. And it's again based on a novel
And then
by
Devdas.
Mirza Hadi Ruswa.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but now, sir, I've got... Yeah, sure,
just
sure,
to complete, but if we talk of in context of Pakistan,
Yes.
in 70 years you can divide into 3 parts.
Okay.
First part is from 1997 to 1977.
Okay.
In these 3 decades, we saw a movie industry blooming, going up. Although we see very less movies based on purely on some novel or fiction, very 1 or 2%. Unfortunately, from 1977 to 2007, we saw all-time decline and digression in the film industry, essentially maybe because of Islamization, military rule or what, and many other factors. We actually digressed our bias from the fiction and film towards the materialistic things.
Okay.
But the third phase, which is from 2007 to 2017, we again see a revival of film industry. And in recently, we saw many good movies coming up.
Okay. Okay, I cannot really say whether I agree to this or I disagree to this, but I have a very strong or staunch opinion over here. Now that opinion is, for example, you know, the type of stories we have heard, Sasi Punnu, Heer Raja. You know, I do not know, I wasn't there, whether there was a reality to that love story or not. I mean, but there are people who still think that they are Rajas. There are people who think that way and they want to behave that way too. And then, you know, since the time we have progressed, I think the businessmen back in 1970s and 80s understood that the impact that, for example, all of those mediums which are having an impact on the consumers was film, TV, drama, and then the print media. So what they did was that they glamorized it. They made it look like as if consuming all of these things
Would give you that life.
is going to be good, and then they became successful, and that's where we are right now. That you know, we just want glamour, we want it all bling bling, whether it's a drama, it's a film. And because half of the time, since I've worked in dramas myself, half of the time the only thing which people would come up and say is that the lifestyle you guys show and the dramas people watch, I mean, those people do not belong to that segment, and that's why there's less relativity in that as well. So I think what our producers or our writers need to do is, because for example, if I talk about writers, now you tell me how many times you have seen people with those Siyasi digest and, you know, I don't know, novel and digest, because what we did was we started working on quantity.
Yes.
We left away the quality, because if, for example, we would have been working on quality, not every day a column can be written, honestly.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yes, you are right. As far as the screenplays are concerned, we have good things to tell.
Exactly.
Exactly.
If we start with Naseem Ajazi, his fiction was dramatized, and we saw good screenplays coming up.
Yeah.
But again, although it did not survive because it's mostly based on history cum fiction.
Okay.
And
Historical
mostly
fiction.
relating to Islamic history.
Okay, but we'll have to stop over here, I think. And it's just because of the fact that we've run out of time.
Yes,
But people, ladies and gentlemen, producers, writers, please make sure that you focus on quality, because it does have an impact on society and individuals too.
Absolutely.
Thank you very
But
much.
Thank you so much for your
Thank you
time,
so
and we will
much.
continue this conversation.
And moving
Just-
on very quickly with
Yes.
fruit of the day. And
Oh, yes.
the fruit of the day we have for today is
Chiku.
chiku.
Yes.
Yes, sapodilla.
Yes, so what are the benefits of chiku are it improves eye vision, energizes the body, it improves digestion, it provides relief from inflammation, it stops blood loss from piles, it protects you from bacterial infections, it prevents from cancer, it removes bladder and kidney stones, it's effective in diarrhea, it prevents anemia, and it regulates your blood pressure. I'm going to tell my mother this.
I don't like it too much though. I mean, for all those people who are trying it for the very first time, please try half of it.
Okay, so it's called chiku, and its a Western name is sapodilla.
Yeah, that's what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget to write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of
Well, this morning.
on Twitter,
Well, this morning without a G.
on Daily Motion and YouTube,
Well, this morning.
on Instagram.
Well, this
We're not on Instagram.
Yes,
Okay,
this
we'll
is-
be on Instagram very soon, and the fabulous repeat is going to be at.
11:05 p.m. this evening.
Till the next time, look after yourself. 1, 2, 3.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.